San Diego at OFC 2018. I'm here with John D'Ambrosio. He's the chairman of the Ethernet Alliance. John, great to see you again.
Ray, it's great seeing you. How you been?
I'm good, and yourself?
Oh, it's been a fun ride for the past few years, making the newest speeds of Ethernet the reality now.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What are the latest developments in the Ethernet ecosystem in general?
In general, well, the latest was in December, 200 and 400 gig Ethernet standard, done.
Right.
Another cap in the feather for that one, because it is a huge bump up from our last speeds, which was 100 gig. So now we'll have a 200 and 400 gig family. You'll notice that we are no longer, you may remember Ethernet moved away from these 10x leaps a few years ago. Now, instead of going 10 times the performance at 3 times the cost, we say follow the SerDes. So what's happening now is that the ecosystem, the entire ecosystem, is moving from 25 gig signaling, electrically and optically, to 50 gig PAM4.
Right.
So it's a fundamental base technology which we're then applying across all of the different Ethernet rates. So one lane of 50 gig is 50 gig Ethernet. 2 lanes of 50 gig, 100, 4, 200, and then 8 lanes, 400 gig. That's a big deal. So the whole ecosystem is developing 50 gig technology, 50 gig signaling technology, and then applying it across all the different rates of Ethernet.
Okay.
So a very, very huge deal of everything getting dumped into the industry at one time. We've got, as I said, 200 and 400 was done in December, and there will be new flavors of 100 and 200 introduced later this year, as well as 50 gig Ethernet.
Okay, so 50 gigs really coming to the fore and starting to play a major role in a lot of different applications across the Ethernet ecosystem?
Absolutely, yes. 50 gig, let's start with 50 gig.
Okay.
So 2 things to do with 50 gig that are really sticking out. First of all, next generation of servers. You may recall a few years ago we did 25 gig Ethernet, and that was really for the next generation of hyperscales. In addition to that, and one of the things that we're showcasing at this particular demonstration is 50 gig Ethernet for long reaches, 10 kilometers and 40 kilometers.
Okay.
And the whole reason that we need that is really wireless backhaul.
Right.
If you go and you look at the bandwidth trends being done by China, the bandwidth trend, their bandwidth needs for their mobile backhaul networks are just incredible. As you may recall, bandwidth explosion, number of users, applications.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking hundreds of millions of users.
Yes, and of course, video. What's driving the bandwidth? Video, consumer. So they really need to increase their support in their wireless backhaul, so 50 gig will be part of their access rings bringing up. So it's, I've talked about diversity in Ethernet many times. You and I have discussed this. It's not just on an application basis, it's also on a regional basis, because different parts of the world have different bandwidth needs based on their particular markets.
Right.
I think the trend right now, the forecast, is 9 exabyte of traffic per month in 2021. I tried to put my mind around that. It's just like, it's like, okay, that's probably like 1,000 World Congresses, libraries, all in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
Just going like that. I just can't get my mind around that.
Yeah, no, that is crazy. So, how is the Ethernet ecosystem reacting to this and working with 50 gig?
I live Ethernet, right? I do. It is incredible to me to see how the ecosystem is aligning around the technology to make it happen. I talk about this all the time. When people think Ethernet, what do they think? Well, it works. Well, it's cheap. Well, I can go get it from anybody and plug it in. And you go look at our demo and you look at all of those logos there, that's an ecosystem of vendors. We have interconnect, we have the connector vendors, we have the cabling vendors, we have the test equipment vendors, we have the optics vendors, we have the switch vendors, we have server vendors, all of it working together. I mean, that's really what's incredible about this demonstration, and I hope you can show some video later just looking at all of the cabling going on there between all of the different interconnects. 10 gig, 25, I think we may have some 40, 50, 100, and 400.
Right.
So just lots of things happening, and reaches all over. I mean, there's, obviously with multi-mode fiber, you're in the shorter reaches. We've got some stuff going on over there going to 40 kilometers at 50 gig as well. which is actually very cool for me because I chair another group in IEEE,
Right.
and that's one of the things that we're looking at. So
Okay.
the standards of developing technology that we're already able to show, yeah, it can be done here. It's
Okay.
great. So the ecosystem is just so in alignment. It feels like the 10 gig days over again to me.
Right, right.
You know, and I never got a chance to really fully enjoy the 100 when we were done with the 100 because we just jumped right into the next speed. But right now I'm getting a pause and I'm looking at this booth going, wow, you know, it really is incredible.
Okay. Specifically the demonstrations here at OFC on the Ethernet Alliance stand, what are they showing? What are they proving to the industry?
Ethernet rocks.
Right.
Plain and simple.
Okay.
Everything that you want to do, you will be able to do with Ethernet. From the short copper connects to the interconnects in the hyperscale data centers to the links that are going to be supporting our wireless backhaul, all these things, Ethernet is going to be there. Ethernet will be that fundamental background technology that everybody uses and quite honestly, you know, take for granted. But the industry is investing, and that's a key point. Standards take a lot of time, they take a lot of investment,
Yeah.
but it's really just a first step. There's the industry investment that happens in these demonstrations behind me, as well as like the Plug Fest, where we actually go in and just show that, you know, it's not just something that's down on, you know, on a paper in the standard. It's something that people can actually take. Multiple vendors can take it. We take it, we build it, we put it all together, and wow, magically, it works, right? That's Ethernet. And that's why I think this demonstration is just absolutely incredible, because Ethernet has so many flavors to deal with nowadays. In the demo, we've got 10, 25, 50, 100, 400. We've got copper. We've got the traces on the boards going into the optical modules. We've got the multi-mode fiber links. We've got parallel fiber. We've got single mode fiber going reaches 10, 40 kilometers. Am I missing anything? And we're not even talking about all the stuff that I know is coming down. I mean, you know,
Right.
I keep talking about this as the next Ethernet era. And what do I mean by that? Well, all of these standards that have come down in the past year and that are coming out in the next year.
Okay.
It's just going to be the largest build out of Ethernet, and we're just getting started because there's so many other things still under works in the IEEE.
So let's talk a bit more about that. Where's the Ethernet ecosystem going? What comes next?
What comes next? Well,
Apart from more rockin'.
wow, you're being my straight man today. So we have the introduction of the 2018 Ethernet Alliance roadmap.
Okay.
So, you know, I think where we go is the families still need to get filled out. Okay, so we have 100 gig optical signaling in the works already from the 400 gig spec, but we are coming out, the IEEE is working on 100 gig electrical signaling, right? So I think the IEEE is blazing the trails for the new technologies, while the Ethernet Alliance is doing the follow-up work to make sure that all these technologies actually plug and play,
Right,
multi-vendor interoperability, bringing that promise of Ethernet to the foray. So I think it's a really interesting time to be around, and there are new things that are happening. I don't want to go too much into details now, but yeah, we should talk again in a few months when some things when some things are formally adopted. I think Ethernet is going into places that people just don't see today. I mean, I think we tend to have that vision on anything data center, and I think life is much more exciting than just data center. You've got automation, right?
Yep.
And power over Ethernet is a huge deal. The EA is very involved with that with our logo certification program. We've got automotive, you've got enterprise, you've got the hyperscales, you've got the service providers, you've got next rates clearly are going to happen, because I just never hear anybody saying, I don't need more bandwidth. When's the last time you heard someone say that, right? Now, granted, it's relevant to that application space, but in general, people just keep asking for more, and we keep providing it to them.
Okay. So the world is definitely your Ethernet oyster, John, and thanks for telling us about the updates and giving such enthusiasm for what's coming next. John,
Thank you very much, Ray. Have a great show.
And you.